going to make a carrot cake. This shows that we can put in vegetables into our cake. We have a recipe for rolled oat cake in your recipe book, and we also have a recipe for banana cake. Do your pre-preparations ahead of time. Turn the oven on to 350. Oven racks positioned in the middle of the oven, and have your cake pan ready. On this particular cake we have 2 bowls. Keep it straight as to which bowl you need to put things in, and I have put it in the recipe for you. So in a medium-sized bowl you put the dry ingredients, because everything is going to end up in the big bowl. And sometimes if you don't think ahead to which bowl you're going to use, you'll suddenly find that haven't got a big enough bowl to work with. So 1 cup of whole wheat flour, and 1 cup of all-purpose flour. Two teaspoons of baking powder. 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg. 1 teaspoon of baking soda. 1 teaspoon of salt. And don't forget the sugar. There is a great deal of sugar in these cakes, and this is part of the tradition. From these kinds of cakes were called a long time ago railroad cakes. They were cakes that were sent with the men who worked on the railways years and years ago. They used to be on a run for about a week, and their wives, of course, there wasn't any fast food places along the line for them to pick up their meals. They used to send the week's meals with them. And in order to give them the energy that these hardworking men needed, and also for something that would keep, they made cakes that were very nutritious, but of course they were full of sugar, because sugar is a preservative. Nowadays we don't necessarily put as much sugar in. We can cut down a little bit because we don't have to keep our cakes for that long. So I'm finished with that bowl. I'll set it aside and change bowls. And in this bowl, got lots of nice eggs. This is a very big cake. 4 eggs. And 1 cup of oil. This is the very easy way to do it, is to have your fat in the form of an oil. And I like canola oil best because it's a monosaturated fat. If you haven't got a rotary beater, then you get busy with your whisk or your fork and your elbow grease. Give it a good beat. Depends on what's easier to wash when it comes to clean up. We're going to take our dry things and put it in to the wet things. Stir. Stir and fold. Fold is a motion that is similar to stir. Stir's like this, but fold is stirring like this. And sometimes that's a little better for your cakes. You don't get the same gluten developed by folding. So you stir and fold, stir and fold, stir and fold until the dry mixture disappears. To turn it into a carrot cake, of course, we need to put the carrots. And I already have them grated for you. That's a pre-preparation. And we can also add a cup of nuts or raisins. So there's lots of things that you can add to it. But follow your recipe pretty closely when it comes to your flour and things like that. But when you put in your additions, you can use a little bit of variety. Try not to overmix products like this. but you still have to make sure that it's mixed. Our cake pan over. This is a fairly thick batter, but you can see it still pours, so it's still a batter, but it's a thick batter. Spread it around with your spatula. This is a big cake. That's why I have a 9 by 13 pan. Our oven's all ready. In the middle rack of the oven is best for cakes. The timer has indicated that our carrot cake is finished. Let's test it. It certainly looks done. It springs back nicely. And the next test, using a toothpick, put it down into the middle of the cake. And if the toothpick comes out clean, which it does, the cake is done. Put it on the rack to cool. Now this cake really doesn't need any icing, but if you would like to put an icing on it, I have some recipes for a cream cheese icing or a vanilla butter icing that is very nice on it. Even a little dusting of icing sugar over top when the cake is cold is another way just to dress it up a little. Store these kinds of cakes right in the tin, and as I mentioned earlier, they will taste nicer in 2 or 3 days' time, so enjoy.